So I think we're just gonna keep talking about this as we go on. So yeah, FR discussion with 40. Still, this is gonna be that follow video I talked about earlier on the last video where me and him talk about current state of FRs, whether they're good, bad, the progress they've made so far on current JP, at least like how the state is, like whether it was healthy for the game or not. So, I mean, give it a brief summary of what happened last time was me and Zodi talked about like where exactly FR started to become sort of like dictating the game difficulty more and more because of the strong FRs, like HP of bosses becoming higher and higher and higher, mechanics being like anti-FR charger mechanics like that, or just even stricter mechanics that straight up just either nuke you or kill you if you do too much damage or whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that kind of started with the first Spiritus, and then it kind of tamed itself down a little bit, and then it went back to becoming a bit more FR oriented, where the fights were really being built around them. But the first Spiritus for me, which I think was the brother Spiritus, right? The one with Tifa. I think that's the one where it started to show, okay, now this era is really starting to showcase where FRs are starting to become more and more important. I mean, the fight that Global is about to get, which is Transcendence 10, that's a fight where you kind of need an FR, because if you don't have it, well, you're not gonna win that fight. I don't see any. I realistically don't see anybody beating that fight without an FR, just because of how punishing the boss mechanic is at 40% and below. But when we really start to see it, I think was during the very first Spiritus, because I remember feeling pretty locked out. Like it was very much designed around Tifa's FR when that first one came out. Like you had to get really creative if you didn't even want to use her. But why wouldn't you want to use her? Because she's still used even up to now.
She is probably the most used character right now in the game.
More so
than Selphie or Lunafreya.
Yeah, and the thing about her is that I know when Jack Garland first came out, Jack Garland was like, oh my god, negative brave. But the thing is that if he couldn't break targets where that's where you put them in that negative state, well, he's not doing his thing. Whereas Tifa didn't have that handicap where she needed to have targets broken. Like she was just straight up raw damage with a very powerful FR effect. So yeah, that's where I think it started.
I wanted to ask you. I was going to go lead into my first question, which was when did FR started to become become a little bit more in your face with the high percentages. So me and Jody said that we think there was starting to become too much when Cam was introduced, because it kind of degraded the power of the FRs after him, kind of, because like you were getting like FR percentages like 45 to 50%, which I think was completely fair at the time, versus Cam where he was increasing it by 80+% to where you're doing way more damage than I think the game where the devs wanted you to be at.
I'm in agreement with that. I mean, we're seeing it right now. Like a lot of people, I'm going to skip this because Cam does this, and I'm really glad that they released this Dare to Defy, shutting him out completely, because otherwise you would be seeing the same. You would just be seeing a repeat of what JP had, with the global community where everybody's running the same thing. Which is why, in a way, foresight is good, but foresight can also spoil you in a way. So I'm kind of glad that Global does throw these curveballs, so then it gets people to kind of think twice about like, oh wow, okay, so I can't do this. So let's see what I could do to think outside the box, so I don't have to just blindly rely on this over and over and over. But I do agree with you guys that Cam kind of made a lot of the FRs after him until a certain point. A bit underappreciated,
Yeah, speaking of spoiled, that reminds me of like one comment I saw where I was looking where they looked at your Terra video and then said like, oh, Terra's pretty underwhelming. It's like, no, she's not. I'm pretty sure this person got spoiled with Cam's FR percentages and Tita's because like, oh, she doesn't have 3 to 4 HP dumps. That's not that much. It's like, yeah, in retrospect to like Titus and Machina and Cam, yeah, that makes sense. But you're being spoiled on, yeah, just some straight up meta.
Exactly. Yeah, I saw that comment too, and I mean, yeah. But the thing about Cam is you got to put it into perspective. For you to be able to get those percentages, those 80% increases, it requires setup. And if you're unable to do that setup correctly, or let's say like you misplay, like how I was misplaying earlier, but like just an example, if you misplay, then you miss out on those high percentages. Whereas somebody like Terra doesn't really require setup. Somebody like Titus doesn't really require setup for theirs. Whereas, yeah, the percentages might not be low, but it doesn't require as much work. So you got to also put it into perspective, which I think a lot of players, when they see big numbers, they tend to forget about that.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
So next thing I want to ask you was, are FR charges good for the state of the game?
I think that it's a very gray area. I mean, some people think that, oh yeah, this is all what FR is, but it's another one of those things where you got to put it into perspective. And I think for these FR chargers, especially now that Force Echo is a thing, which I know we're going to be talking about a little bit later in this discussion, I think that something that the devs could look at is to bring back some of those fights where if you're FR charging too quickly, it actually punishes you. Like, I really enjoyed that one fight that JP had where if you were FR charging, like for example, if you were using a Pinello and you were skill spamming because you were charging your gauge, the boss's gauge actually was it doubles or quadruples in percentage. So it punishes you for doing that. I actually think they should bring that back. They should, especially now where JP is at, where you could charge the gauge so quickly and then just blow things up with FR Echo. That's something that they should bring back, where bosses' gauges actually increase faster if you're abusing something like that. That's something that I want to see more of.
Yeah, my idea was that if they ever decided to nerf FR charges or make balance changes, which I don't think they were going to do, my idea would be make diminishing returns, which is a mechanic that quite a lot of RPGs and multiplayer like online games have, which is like the first time you use it, you still get like a pretty beefy like charge in this case. So if you use like Selfie, for example, spam skill 2, it'll go up, I don't know, the usual 10%, but then next time it'll go down to 5%, next time 2%, 1%, and then until where it's like not even worth it to keep spamming it because you're getting less out of it. So that's what my idea would have been. But yeah, I think at this point, some fights, like some breather fights, can have here and there this like no FR charging, anti-charging mechanic. I mean, one that kind of like stood out that was a perfect example of FR charges really being not useful for the fight was the Cloud of Darkness fight, which I think was is probably the best designed SHINRYU fight that we're gonna get. That we did get.
Oh yeah, that fight had so many mechanics to where and it was such a tanky fight to where even if you did that, you can't just expect to blow past it. Like, you had to understand, what the different phases were with the different HP percentages, when Cloud of Darkness was vulnerable to certain types of damage, when Cloud of Darkness was vulnerable to another type of damage. I think that fight was also, I'm in agreement with you, where it was a very well-designed fight, where it wasn't just like, I'm just going to FR and blow it up. Like, you actually had to understand it. You couldn't just get around certain mechanics. Yeah, that's a really, really good fight. That's another one that I enjoyed, where it really showcased what these devs can do to create a very well-designed SHINRYU fight without having an FR gauge just completely blow it up.
Yeah, it does help that there were like not just like a couple team comps that worked. There was so many team comps that were extremely viable for the fight just because you had those 6 character slots that you could use.
Right.
So I think we talked about this as well. When did FR attacks on bosses become unfair? Like when the bosses started insta-killing you if you went too burr and with your FR or whatnot, or just mechanics becoming too much. Because I said Pandemonium. The Pandemonium fight was too in your face with too many like oppressive effects when it was like that, but
I think that was the only fight that I felt like it was too in your face.
yeah,
I can't think of any other fight. Was the Vaughn the FR one pretty punishing? I forget. I remember that one having some nonsense.
Yes, it's one of those fights where if you got broken, you died. I think another one where me and Zodi said was the Benovelza fight, the one with Hope FR when it came out.
Oh yeah, I remember that one. That one where if you get broken, you die, pretty much.
Yes, and if you used melee or range after a certain after the boss had a certain FR percentage, the boss countered you and it killed you.
So it was
There's a couple, just a handful of fights that were kind of just in your face with oppression.
I think that fight, it sounds oppressive, but it wasn't in your face trying to push the FR on you because you just had to run a team that focused on magic damage, and you had to be prepared for that very first action that the boss took after he took your actions, where if you get unless you get broken, you died. As long as you were prepared, I think you could get around that. But definitely the Pandemonium Spiritus was the one where, just like what you guys said, I felt like that one was really pushing Sid Reigns, and there were runs without Sid Reigns, but
I would say
it was very difficult.
Okay, so I revisit that fight back now to kind of like see what were like the unfair mechanics, and it's like mainly the big ones were you couldn't use you could only use certain imperil for that fight, like wind and ice, I think is fine. You could only do, up to like, you had to give the boss at least one turn, or because if you used too many, you spammed your skills too much, and at least took 10 back-to-back actions, which is pretty easy to do in that fight. Boss gained 99% HP damage reduction, 9,989 brave damage reduction, so basically you had no damage against it. And the boss has only one attack, which is AoE paralysis, and which is 2 turns, and 2-turn confusion. So there's no way to get around that unless you use Raging Call, which is essential for that fight. And you don't have to bring Sid Reigns. Well, but then again, I was using a broken Tifa, but I think it's still possible to do without Sid Reigns for that fight if you have Tifa. You just have to time it really, really well with towards the end, because towards the end, once the boss gets below gets you to 19%, it gains a large amount of damage reduction unless you're launching the boss, but yeah, Tifa was able to still have enough HP damage to kind of like bypass a little bit, so which is why she's pretty much another go-to, her and Vaughn. I think me and Zodi also talked about like the Dark Knight Cecil fight, where it's sort of more in favor with Dark Knight Cecil FR.
Yes, I agree. That fight, I've seen people do it with Galuf, another character that reduces their health.
Rinoa.
I can't think off the top. Rinoa, there you go. Rinoa and
Arden.
Yeah, Rinoa, Galuf, Arden. I remember you could do it. It's possible with them, but it's trickier. But yeah, that was definitely pushing DKC because you had to have your health at a certain percentage, otherwise they'll just kill you. And you're like, okay. I do remember that one being a little bit pushy. I don't think it was as pushy as the Pandemonium Spiritus, but it definitely was really trying to sell you hard on you want your health near death or else you're just gonna die.
Yeah.
You know?
I think the Pandemonium fight was just like the apex of how bad the fights were. I don't think we're gonna see fights like that anymore because the Spiritist fights after that were way more manageable, way more like open to like the roster. Like they can straight up just have turns locked, no, not being broken, cannot be delayed or whatever, like those like generic things.
Yeah, well, definitely this recent Spiritus was not difficult at all because we're now in the Force Echo and I didn't even realize what the mechanics were because I just ran a Force Echo. I ran a team with Force Echo and Force Echo just blew it up, which I really think that a new difficulty should be coming out. You know, I think they should consider that because Force Echo is just so overly powerful right now. Like, I mean, free percentage increase to the gauge without you actually ticking down the gauge is ridiculous. Like you could enter a force time at 10 turns and it could be like at 400, 500% already. That's just ridiculous.
Yeah, so let's talk about FR Echoes for anyone who doesn't know what it is. For anyone who wants to know exactly what's coming to the game. So FR Echoes are a new mechanic that comes around... Who was it? When Garnet comes back with her FR and BT, she's the first one, and Terra. It's basically FR boards, not FR passives like some people think. Those are two different things. FR boards literally is there's another branch on the character board slot specifically for the FRs, and once you max that out, certain characters will get stronger FRs, do more HP dumps, and a new mechanic called FR Echo, which is you can use a FR skill usage, one of two of them, to basically gain a free FR, a free skill that basically does not reduce your FR duration and tremendously boosts the percentage of it if they fulfill the conditions, which the character that usually, if you use the same FR on the character, they usually boost it by like something nutty, like 90 to like 105% so far. And basically, the benefit of it is you're staying at those high percentages longer. So, usually if you're lucky, you get to 900% for one skill usage, but now you're sitting at 800, 900% for like 4 or 5 skill usages, which is, to put it in perspective, Tifa at very, very apex of the damage can deal up to 130 million damage in one skill usage. That's not even with her FR Echo up. She's just doing that much damage with her EX. So yeah. Which is why me and Zodi kind of like noted that I wouldn't be surprised if like towards the end of the year the boss's HP become 1 billion just to make the fights go on a little bit longer.
Yeah, well, 1 billion might be excessive because that might be excessive, but at least like minimum, if they're gonna keep Shinryu, minimum fights need to be at least 250 million HP. If they're gonna, if they have 2 bosses, 250 million HP. And I know that some people are gonna be like, "Oh, 40, why are you saying that? That's a bad suggestion." But really, if you're experiencing FR Echo right now, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah.
I'm gonna literally showcase it right now because chat wants to see like a visual of how this looks like and why this is just such a stupid mechanic. But we can keep talking.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think FR Echoes should have been included with FR boards. I think if they just tweaked them, the FRs to have like a couple HP, one or more HP dump, then that would have been fine. Or just like tuning the lower end of the FRs that weren't as good, like Kane, which we unfortunately didn't come in this with the Mug event because I think Squall took his spot. But yeah, it's not. I don't think the FR Echo should have been included because they just make the game, unless they're prepping us for C100 and there's another bigger difficulty beyond Shinryu. Because it just makes the fights too easy because you bring 3 FR Echo characters and then you're sitting, and then you have a 16 action FR phase, which is extremely overpowering because you go into because you press FR, you go immediately into BT, and then after you get out of BT, you summon, and then you have those 6 turns of you just spamming FR echoes, and the bosses are not able to do anything. Unless they start having more, like, if you have mechanics where you have to let them have a turn in order for them to bring down their shields, like, or allow them to take damage.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's what my stance on FR echoes are.
Yeah, my stance on this is that they need to bring a new difficulty if they want content to at least be able to fight back. I mean, if the devs don't want content to fight back, that's fine. It doesn't have to, but some of us actually enjoy it when the content fights back because it gets us to think. I mean, it doesn't have to be super crazy difficult. They don't have to make it as difficult as like when we got Sephiroth BT debut, where that fight was just like punishing, and like especially when JP first got it, where we had no idea what to do because there were no percentages, So yeah, I'm trying to showcase it right now, but yeah, that's my stance on it too. It's just a little broken. It's a little too broken. It does make fights go burr that are Shinryu difficulty, and at least they add in mechanics to to have enemies fight back, or if they don't increase the overall HP of a fight, it's just a busted mechanic. All right, I'm trying to showcase it right here because people in chat want to see a visual of why this is a broken mechanic. So
yeah, last thing I want to talk about was like just going backtracking a little bit. What in your opinion is like the percentages that you think it was a good like middle point for FRs? Like, in my opinion, the good like middle ground would have been like 50% to maybe 70% would have been the most, where like the FRs got to maybe 600% at most, maybe 500%. I think only niche like FR should have gone to like near cap, unless like the boss was like very, very greedy with their own turns, like that moth fight wall FR.
I literally just showed a free 103% on to chat right now.
Yes.
A middle ground percentage. So you're saying that you don't want the you're saying that the fights shouldn't or the percentages shouldn't go up a certain amount.
Yeah, I don't think 100. Yeah, as you said, I don't think 103% seems extremely excessive.
Yeah, that is pretty excessive. I think there should be a cap of how high the percentages can go. Yeah, because that's something that they could consider doing. Although I think by this time it's already a little too late, especially with Cam. But it's something they could have done. Yeah. Or I know this sounds crazy, but there could be a way that they could have like a negative effect that enemies can apply to where it reduces the amount of how much you can increase the FR gauge. That's something I don't think that they've explored yet. Where let's say like an enemy like triggers an aura at like 79%, and then let's say you activate your force gauge, but because that aura is up and you weren't able to shut it down, even though you would normally get like, let's say 80%, you would get like 40%. It cuts your percentage increase in half. That could be something that they could explore.
Yeah.
Into making the fight a bit more fair. Yeah.
I mean, I get it. Everyone likes seeing big numbers and shiny new toys because it's what for this game it's what brings in people and gets people to pull on the banners, because they see Terra FR going burr with like 105%, or you see her doing 80-90% on each skill usage and she does big damage. That's very attractive in a trailer.
Definitely. Yeah, I mean, Terra FR Echo on its own because it's insta turn. You press somebody else's FR, and then you press Terra's twice. That's a free increase of like anywhere from like 50% to 103%, like what I just did right now on stream. It's free.
Yeah.
And it's like, what? And your gauge doesn't go down. That's the thing that really blows my mind. Like, if the gauge went down, I would be like, okay, this is really powerful. But at least it's still interacting with the counter. But it doesn't. It's free.
Yeah.
It's legit for free. And then other characters who have FR Echo can use their FR Echo and increase the gauge for you for free. So it's free damage, free percentage increase, but you're not actually ticking down your own FR gauge.
Mm-hmm. I mean, worst comes to worst, as some people are saying that even if the percentage doesn't go up, it's like 105% per usage. I mean, even if it goes up by 20%, the main thing is the FR duration is not going down, and you're pressing a nuke button that has like every HP dump is on par with a BT HP dump, and that's 5 HP dumps. So you're doing like I don't know. After a BT phase with the FR up, you're doing at least like on average 20 to 40 million, which is a lot of damage for one skill usage.
Yeah, 20 to 40 million in one skill usage is pretty insane, considering how little HP bosses have right now in current content. Unless it's like a Spiritus event or maybe like a Transcendence. I mean, like with this Mog Intertwined Wills event, I think it was Indolent that told me in chat on my stream just now, the bosses have like 100 million HP. I'm like, that's it for Force Echo? That's nothing.
Yeah, people were killing or just like whooping on the bosses.
Yeah.
I mean, if you want to like complete all the event, you have to be Mog, but that's going to be too hard. You could just like bring them alongside, I don't know, Tifa, and then you're done. I mean, we're at the point where you don't even need all 3 slots to be SHINRYU. You just need essentially 1 slot, 1 character, and you can't bring Infinity Unit for some of these challenges. So at least 2 slots. So I mean, my closing thoughts on this is like I said, I get the FRs make big damage numbers, and it's very appealing to see that. But I think
appealing to see.
As a direct result, though, they had to increase the boss's HP, and I think they had to scale it up harder after like some of the crazy FRs that we've been getting as a result. So it set a sort of dangerous precedent that could get out of hand.
Well, I think what would get out of hand is if they just continued to release content the way that it is without bosses really fighting back. And then you're going to get the whole community saying, oh, the game is getting too easy. And then that's going to start triggering doom posting, unnecessary doom posting, saying the game is dying, which, makes the environment, which makes the community have like a less healthy environment. So what I think they should do is, I think this is preparing us for C100 and preparing us for a new difficulty. I think right now their main focus is that, which is also why they changed it to 4 events per month with every character getting an FRBT, and also another character getting their FR boards at the same time. I think that's why they're doing it. That's my speculation, is that they're preparing us for C100. Right now, this is kind of like the garbage time of SHINRYU era, right? Yeah. This could potentially be the garbage time of SHINRYU era when FR Echo is kind of blowing through content, but at the same time, I think it's preparing us for something coming up that's gonna coincide with the level of power that they've just introduced. So,
and I think that this is probably the best time for them to kind of like use this breathing room time with the space of events to kind of like really get creative with the fights, and this may be like enough breathing room for them to redesign some new fights or add mechanics that they couldn't add because of time constraints because of the events before, and redesign some of these bosses to have intricated mechanics to that where we see more of the fight than just FR phase and BT phase. Hopefully that's the case. We have
hopefully
a 12-day break right from now till when the next character event comes out, which is Rubicante.
Yep.
So hopefully
isn't Squall coming out first?
Yeah, but that's just a campaign. That's just a seasonal banner and no actual event tied to it.
Okay.
This is the co-op we have, and Mog event is basically Squall event, and that's it. So yeah, hopefully this big enough gap in space gives them creative freedom to design fights and make cool animations for them.
I agree. Yeah, I hope it gives them the time, and also it gives them enough time to really design how they want the C100 era to be.
Anyway, any other closing thoughts?
No, that was pretty much it. I mean, we seem to share the same sentiments about FR Echo and where the state of the game is right now, and we just have to wait and see what they're going to be doing, and hopefully some of the devs actually watch the content creator streams and listen to all these different discussions, because it can definitely help enhance some of the things that they want to bring into the game.
Yep, I agree. So I don't think we have anything else to talk about. So I want to thank you, 40, for joining me on this video.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And guys, be sure to check it out on Blobs' YouTube channel. Let me actually link that in chat right now. Because all of the Bantercasts that I do with him and Zodi and these discussions, we primarily talk about JP content on Dissidia Opera Omnia, is all featured on his YouTube channel here. So be sure to check him out. He's also on Twitch too as well. So if you want to check out his Twitch channel.
Yeah, Twitch, I stream the Bantercast live, so then anyone can join in on discussions and chat and I'll just play our comments and then talk about it live. So which is nice. But yeah, thank you, 40, for joining me, and I'll see you guys on the next Bantercast or whatever video I do next.